Today, we're diving into something that's changing the airline industry in a big way: free, high speed, in flight internet. It wasn't that long ago that in flight Wi Fi was a luxury that came at a premium, often slow and unreliable. Most of us have experienced it, paying $10 or more for a few hours of internet access, only to find that even loading a simple web page took forever. Streaming a movie? Forget about it. But in recent years, something big has changed. More airlines are not only upgrading their in-flight connectivity, but also making it completely free for passengers. So why is this happening now? Why are airlines suddenly willing to offer something they used to charge a fortune for? And more importantly, what does this mean for the future of air travel? Let's take a deep dive into the evolution of in-flight internet, how it got to this point, and why free Wi-Fi is here to stay. To understand how we got here, we need to go back to the early days of in-flight internet. The idea of being connected while flying isn't new, and for decades, airlines and technology companies have experimented with different ways to bring internet access to passengers in the sky. One of the first serious attempts at in-flight connectivity came from Boeing in the early 2000s. At the time, Boeing was not just an aircraft manufacturer, but also an innovator in aviation technology. In 2001, they introduced a service called Connection by Boeing, which was one of the earliest large-scale efforts to provide internet access on commercial flights. The system used satellites to beam internet signals to aircraft, allowing passengers to browse the web while in the air. On paper, this sounded like a game-changing innovation. Imagine being able to check your emails, read the news, or even chat with friends while flying across the country or internationally. However, the reality of Connection by Boeing was far from ideal. For one, the service was extremely expensive for both airlines and passengers. Airlines had to install costly satellite communication equipment on their planes, and Boeing had to invest heavily in maintaining the satellite infrastructure. On the passenger side, the pricing model was prohibitive. Some airlines charged as much as $30 for a few hours of internet access, which was a steep price at the time. Even for those who could afford it, the experience wasn't great. The speeds were frustratingly slow, making even basic browsing a challenge. Video streaming was out of the question, and even loading simple web pages could take several minutes. Worse still, the connection was unreliable, frequently dropping in and out depending on the aircraft's location. Since the system relied on geostationary satellites positioned about 22,000 miles above the Earth, the latency was high, meaning there was a noticeable delay in data transmission. These issues ultimately led to the downfall of Connection by Boeing. By 2006, just 5 years after its launch, Boeing decided to shut down the service due to low adoption rates. The demand simply wasn't there, and airlines weren't willing to continue investing in a system that was expensive and underwhelming. At the time, in-flight internet seemed like a failed experiment, and for a few years, it remained an underdeveloped idea. But technology was advancing rapidly, and by the late 2000s, a new player entered the scene: Gogo. Unlike Boeing's approach, which relied on satellites, Gogo introduced a different method using air-to-ground technology. Instead of sending signals from space, Gogo's system worked by using a network of cell towers on the ground that transmitted signals upward to aircraft. This was a cheaper and more efficient solution compared to the expensive satellite-based infrastructure that Boeing had used. Air-to-ground technology had some advantages. Since it relied on existing cell networks, the costs were significantly lower, making it more accessible for airlines to implement. The connection speeds were also slightly better than Boeing's system because there was less latency. Signals didn't have to travel all the way to space and back. By the early 2000s and 10s, Gogo's Wi-Fi service had become the standard for in-flight internet in the United States, and many airlines started adopting it as a way to provide connectivity to passengers. However, despite being an improvement over Boeing's system, Gogo's technology had its own limitations. The biggest drawback was that air-to-ground internet only worked over land. Since the system depended on signals from cell towers, flights that traveled over oceans or remote areas had little to no connectivity. This meant that passengers flying on long-haul international routes often had no internet access for large portions of their journey. Even on domestic flights, where the service did work, speeds were still a major problem. The bandwidth available was limited, and as more passengers connected to the network, the performance suffered significantly. At peak times, speeds could slow to a crawl, making it difficult to do anything beyond basic web browsing. Video streaming, large downloads, or even sending emails with attachments could be frustratingly slow. Additionally, Gogo's business model relied on pay-per-use pricing, meaning passengers had to pay extra for internet access. While the prices were lower than what Boeing had charged, they were still relatively high, often around $10 to $20 for a few hours hours of connectivity. Many passengers were reluctant to pay for a service that was slow and unreliable, leading to mixed adoption rates. By the mid-2000s teens, airlines began searching for better solutions. Passengers were demanding faster and more reliable in-flight Wi-Fi, and the limitations of air-to-ground technology became increasingly apparent. This led to the next major shift, the move towards satellite-based in-flight internet, but this time with more advanced technology that could overcome the issues Boeing had faced years earlier. Things really started to change with the introduction of satellite-based internet. Companies like ViaSat, Inmarsat, and more recently Starlink developed systems that allowed for high-speed connectivity in the air. Instead of relying on ground stations, these systems use satellites in low Earth orbit or geostationary orbit to provide internet access to planes anywhere in the world, including over oceans and remote regions. The result? Faster speeds, lower latency, and a much more reliable internet experience for passengers. Now that the technology exists to provide high-speed internet on flights, the next question is, why are airlines suddenly offering it for free? After all, they used to charge high fees for Wi-Fi access, so what changed? The answer comes down to 4 key factors: changing passenger expectations, increased competition, advertising partnerships, and the declining cost of satellite internet. First, passenger expectations have evolved dramatically. A decade ago, most travelers didn't expect to have internet access while flying. Today, it's a different story. With remote work becoming more common and people relying on streaming services and social media for entertainment, staying connected is more important than ever. Business travelers, in particular, expect to be able to check emails, attend virtual meetings, and continue working while in the air. According to a 2023 study by Inmarsat, 81% of airline passengers consider in-flight Wi-Fi an essential part of their travel experience. Airlines have recognized this shift and are now making connectivity a priority. Second, competition in the airline industry is tougher than ever. With dozens of airlines competing for passengers, each one is looking for ways to stand out. Offering free Wi-Fi is an easy way to attract customers and improve the flying experience. Delta Airlines was one of the first major U.S. carriers to take the plunge, announcing in early 2023 that it would offer free high-speed Wi-Fi on most domestic flights. This move forced other airlines to respond. American Airlines, United Airlines, and even international carriers like Qatar Airways and Emirates have all expanded their free Wi-Fi offerings in response to Delta's initiative. No airline wants to be the one still charging for slow Wi-Fi when competitors are offering it for free. Third, advertising and sponsorships have made it financially viable for airlines to provide free internet access. In the past, passengers had to pay directly for Wi-Fi, but now advertisers are footing the bill. Many airlines have partnered with companies that sponsor in-flight internet services in exchange for branding opportunities. For example, T-Mobile has deals with multiple airlines to provide free Wi-Fi to its customers. Other airlines offer free internet in exchange for watching a short ad before gaining access. This model allows airlines to offer connectivity without losing money. Finally, the cost of providing in-flight internet has dropped significantly. In the past, installing and maintaining in-flight Wi-Fi systems was expensive. The hardware alone could cost airlines millions of dollars per aircraft, and the service fees for using satellite-based internet were high. However, advancements in technology, particularly with low Earth orbit satellites like Starlink, have driven costs down. Starlink, operated by SpaceX, has drastically reduced the price of satellite internet while increasing speed and reliability. As more airlines switch to LEO-based internet providers, costs will continue to decrease, making free Wi-Fi a sustainable option. So, what does this mean for passengers? First and foremost, it means faster and more reliable internet access. With traditional in-flight Wi-Fi, passengers often struggled with slow speeds and frequent disconnections. But with modern satellite internet, travelers can expect speeds of up to 250 megabits per second, which is fast enough to stream movies, play online games, and even make video calls. In fact, some passengers on Qatar Airways flights with Starlink have reported speeds of up to 215 megabits per second, a massive improvement over older systems. It also means that working while flying will be easier than ever. For business travelers, this is a game changer. Instead of waiting to land to respond to emails or attend meetings, passengers can stay connected and productive throughout the flight. In a world where remote work is becoming more common, this is a major selling point for airlines. Beyond productivity, free high-speed internet is making air travel more enjoyable. Instead of relying on in-flight entertainment systems, passengers can stream their favorite shows and movies from services like Netflix, Disney+, or YouTube. This is particularly useful for long-haul flights, where traditional in-flight entertainment entertainment options might not be enough to keep travelers entertained for 10 plus hours. Looking ahead, the future of in-flight internet is only going to get better, with more airlines upgrading to satellite-based Wi-Fi and companies like SpaceX continuing to expand their LEO satellite networks. We could soon reach a point where in-flight internet is just as fast and reliable as home broadband. Some experts even predict that within a decade, every major airline will offer free high-speed internet on all flights, both domestic and international. One of the most exciting possibilities is direct-to-device satellite connectivity. Companies like AST Space Mobile and Link are working on technology that would allow smartphones to connect directly to satellites without needing an onboard Wi-Fi system. If this technology succeeds, passengers might not even need traditional in-flight Wi-Fi anymore. Your phone would just automatically connect to a satellite network, just like it does with cell towers on the ground. At the end of the day, free in-flight high-speed internet is here to stay, and that's great news for travelers. Airlines are realizing that connectivity is no longer a luxury, it's an expectation. Whether you're a business traveler trying to stay productive or just someone who wants to stream a movie at 35,000 feet, the future of air travel is looking more connected than ever. So what do you think? Have you used in-flight Wi-Fi recently? Would free high-speed internet make you more likely to choose one airline over another? Let me know in the comments. And if you found this video interesting, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on future business and tech updates. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.